there is something I wanted to run by you guys today. You may have heard there is this new product called Notebook LM. Notebook LM is a new product from Google that will generate a fake podcast if you upload one or more documents to it. So the idea is that, let's say you have to do research on the 9/11 Commission report, right? Which is like 1,000 pages. And you upload it to Notebook LM, and it will generate summaries for you. And it will generate a podcast for you where people talk about the thing that you're doing. And I was listening to an interview with the guy behind Notebook LM, and it was kind of interesting. He's like the key behind this is it's not necessarily smarter than a human or anything like that, but it can see everything instantly. Like you can read one page in a minute. This thing can read 1,000 pages in a minute, right? And that's why it can be an efficient research tool. So what I did was I took my recent review of Speak No Evil, which I published at decodingeverything.com, and I fed it into Notebook LM. It generated a 6-minute long podcast, and I'm going to play for you 1 minute of that podcast. So this is Notebook LM's summary of my review of Speak No Evil at decodingeverything.com. Here it is.
Ever get that feeling on vacation? You know, where you meet another family and at first they seem nice enough, but then things get weird. You're trying to be polite, but something feels off. Yeah. Well, that social awkwardness, the fear of trusting the wrong people, that's the heart of Speak No Evil.
Right.
And get this, we have not one, but T2away versions of this story to unpack. Mm-hmm. The original Danish film from 2022 and a brand new American remake.
Interesting.
What's fascinating is that both films tap into these very primal fears, that unease we feel when politeness clashes with our gut instincts. Huh? But how they play with those fears, how they ultimately resolve them, well, that's where the real story unfolds, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. And our guide today is film critic David Chen, and he did not hold back in his review, aptly titled, "The Speak No Evil Remake Completely Betrays the Spirit of the Original." I'm fine with that.
Bold statement, right. And it sets the stage for a really interesting exploration.
It does.
For sure. We're diving deep into why one film punches you in the gut while the other opts for a more, shall we say, Hollywood ending.
Yeah, and it's those choices that tell us something about the anxieties and the expectations that shape our culture.
Exactly.
So we are so fucked. We are so fucked.
Yeah. Everything's fucked.
We are so fucked.
Everything's fucked. Like, I was just listening to like interviews with Mark Zuckerberg, and he's like, "Yeah, just AI content is just going to be in your feeds. You know, you can't even tell anymore what is being made. If you scroll through TikTok right now, God. AI content, AI voices are everywhere. So, yeah, this sucks.
I need a retirement plan.
It's really
pronto.
Sucks. I think you need to join the board of an AI company.
So fucked.
Yeah.
Are there any openings that anybody knows about?
I, for one, love our AI overlords. Yeah.
Oh my God. The guy in the background going, oh, yeah.
Yeah. And the vocal fry.
I will say that is one of the less convincing, like I've heard other samples.
Yeah.
And that is one of the less convincing ones. Like I've heard other samples that are like, it is indistinguishable from actual people talking. And as Jeff Kanata is always fond of saying, this is the worst this technology will ever be.
Yeah. We're fucked.
I have sat down, watched a minute-long TikTok video, and I'm like, oh, wait, no, this is not somebody talking to me. This is an AI voice. And it's also just reading a story from Reddit. So what's happening here?
Yeah.
It is getting harder to distinguish, and I feel angry when I come across those, but I don't know if other people will. I think people will willingly consume
I have
it.
to say, what is really impressive about what this does is the cadence of a podcast. It captures the cadence of a podcast.
Very NPR.
Yes.
It's very NPR podcast. It specifically feels like a one kind of podcast. But then a lot of real podcasts have been influenced by that style too, so it's fair.
Right.
It's very much an Only Murders in the Building style podcast.
Yeah, it's that
I mean, honestly,
This American Life.
my initial reaction when I heard this was, wow, if you are somebody who is unknown on the internet, putting your stuff into Notebook LM really can big you up. It's because you're hearing people. It's like
we're going to base this on Bill T. Nobody. His review.
Bill T. Nobody's review of the and we are so thrilled to have as our guide through this topic, Bill T. film critic Bill T. Nobody. It's hey, if you want to kind of feel good about like your work is important and talked about. Put your work into
is you don't tell your wife, but then you send her that podcast.
Oh yeah, yeah. Oh look, I heard this came on the radio today. They found my review.
Look, they must have picked up on it. She's like, your blog has 3 views. I know. Is this crazy?
And I will say, even when I was like putting the blog post in, what it does is it generates a text summary for you first, and the text summary was like exactly accurate as to what I said, and then it's like, do you want to generate an audio conversation? And I'm like, generate? Yeah, heck yes, I do, for the purposes of this After Dark. But yeah, I mean, I think what now, to be fair, Jeff, this did start with the work of a human, right? Like I did feed it.
Yeah, but that's trivial.
For now,
you can easily generate a review of Speak No Evil with AI and then feed that into the other AI.
I know, but yes, I understand what you're saying, but even that is going to be, even the summary of the reviews. Like you could say like, hey, take all the reviews that have ever been written of Speak No Evil, but those are all human reviews, or hopefully most of them are human reviews. So
yes.
You're right. I do think we're far off from an AI be able to watch a movie and then create an opinion of it, in my opinion. I think we're a little far off from that. But it did start with the work of a human.
Yeah.
I do see a scenario where it's like, hey, I don't give a shit about what these schmucks think about anything. I just want, like, let me just feed in the New York Times and the New Yorker and so on, and then create a podcast based on that. Like, that's the thing that I think could happen.
This is why more and more of my reviews involve me telling stories from my life. That's the only thing I've got, well, related to your own life, because the AI's doesn't have that.
I know. I mean, I don't know if you're being serious or not, but I actually completely agree with that approach. Like,
yeah, I have said for years, well before the AI revolution.
Yeah, same.
I have always said, but freaking in the early 2000s, I was saying that people are like, oh, it's got to be, is it a 8 out of 10? Is it a 5 out of 5? What is it? And I was like, you know what? My job is not to give you the objective score. My job is to give you the intensely subjective view of this, because that's the only thing that I have to offer. It's the only thing that I've got that no one else has is me. And if you relate to me in some human way, then we have a connection and we can move forward.
But even that, by the way, is not hard to fake. Like it is a genuine thing, but it's not hard to just be like.
But there's something. What we are. First of all, I 100% agree with Jeff. And as time has gone on, like the ways you can describe a movie, you kind of run out of them over time. And or not run out of them. Like you can always describe, like, use the same words or descriptors. But I think what is more valuable to people as they have come to know us over the years is what is the subjective, personal reaction to a thing. And that is also something that is very difficult for an AI. It's very easy for an AI to fake. It's at this point impossible for an AI to actually experience, as far as we know.
Right.
I mean, what is the experience? This now we're getting into my philosophy classes, right? But like the qualia of having watched and interpreted a review, it is so easy to fake, like all these life stories. But we are getting at something here.
The benefit, right, of people listening is they know we are actual human beings. For now, they know we are actual human beings who actually went through the things that we describe, if we're not lying about them. The other thing I wanted to say, just to expand on the point about the cadence, like there's a lot of times when you see like a ChatGPT summary or something like that, and it's like, oh, I understand how this work created this ChatGPT summary. Like, we are rapidly getting past the point where David Chen, can see the seams in something like this. Like listening to that, I'm not like, oh, I see how it did it. It just like rearranged a bunch of my words,
right?
And like, and that's what we heard outputted. It's like, oh, it is drawing from like how people. It's like mixing.
It's drawing the IMDb sources,
it's
summaries
mixing what
of the
I wrote
movie.
with like IMDb, like other shit out there in ways that I can't even comprehend, basically.
And Google has the entire history of podcasting like in its databases through Google Podcasts too. So like clearly they've trained on all of that.
Who knows what they
that
have?
is how they know what a podcast is.
But like the cadence, the back and forth, just like people taking turns.
Yeah. I know.
I did put this on. I did put this video on, or this audio on TikTok and Instagram this morning, and
so that the AI could learn from this and get even better.
Somebody, people are not happy with it. They find it to be very upsetting. Mike on my TikTok page said, "Just what I love about podcasts: zero personality in the host, and just some guy mumbling in the corner." which I thought was funny. But yeah, I mean,
you can say that, but there's plenty of podcasts that do that. I'm not just the podcast. I'm not even being disparaging. I'm not like
that is just the
you're
podcast.
making a neutral statement about what podcasts actually are. Yeah, and in terms of when compared with the vast corpus of podcasts that are like that, this is actually above average.
It's above average. This is very listenable. I subscribed.
I'd like to subscribe to your newsletter, sir. All right.
Well, that's very depressing.
Yeah.
It is. I mean, the idea that the AI can't create something new, I think that's the thing we will keep going back to. Like, you just made a Simpsons reference, Dave. And like, that reference has been in my head forever. And who made that is a bunch of like writers stuck in a room somewhere during the genius, seasons 1 through 10 of The Simpsons. And it's like that alchemy, that intelligence, like, I'm sure the AI will be able to do something replicating that eventually, but the spark of something new, the spark of something, I don't know, truly memorable, that's the thing.
I think you really are hitting on something there, Devindra, because I think on a fundamental level, why I listen to podcasts is to feel closer to other humans on some level, right? Is to have a shared experience and relate to other human beings. And I think the pertinent question going forward is a simulacrum of that feeling enough?
Right.
Because you're right, you will be able to manufacture a version of that human connection. You will be able to fool people into thinking there are humans sharing something, even if it's AI just carbon copying it. But it will get to a point where it does feel like that. Yeah. But is the knowledge enough? Is the knowledge that it's fake enough to dissuade people from wanting, like, because part of me thinks the answer might be yes. Part of me thinks that like just the idea that it is just the knowledge that it is not real.
Well,
it's enough.
Assuming the knowledge is even there.
Available.
Because right now,
I know what you mean.
Right now, like the blurred lines, like I keep running into AI in social media. I'm like, God damn it. I get really mad when that happens. And it's like, I think like maybe my fear is we end up losing something really fundamental to us as a society, as a civilization, like when we're just watching recycled garbage, basically. Like the insights of poetry and true artistry, like that is the thing I worry. Like what is humanity like without that? And that to me is a true dystopia.
I do think there is value in knowing that it's a real person, right? Like,
yes.
Whether that information is made available or obvious to people, like who knows, but people will continue to derive value out of knowing it's a real person. So how much value, how that fluctuates over time, we'll see.
In the very worst situation of this, in the most bleak dystopian version of this, I do think there will always be some niche that will care about this, but I don't know how sustainable that is. To me, it'll feel like there's still people who will only purchase handcrafted furniture, but most people go to IKEA. You know what I mean? Like, I think there'll still be people who value,
right?
But it'll be a niche that might be so small that it doesn't matter.
Yeah,
you know.
Well, the most important thing is, we're very lucky that we got to be there at the height of people caring about humans making art, you know?
Yeah. And the nice. Ability to freely exchange and distribute that art, we're right there, you know?
Yeah. Well,
you know?
I will say something intensely personal right now,
Oh,
which
here it
is
comes.
I have a growth. Can I show you guys? No. I would say that in that moment.
Yeah. Checkmate, AI.
No. Truly, honestly, bare my soul right now. I hear that and I feel genuine fear. I really do. And the reason I bring that up right in this moment is to say, again, to reiterate how grateful I am that the people listening to this are actually paying us dollars. The people listening to this, it means that you care enough about what we put out into the world that you pay for it. And that is the difference between me being gainfully employed and me not being gainfully employed. And when I hear that, I genuinely go, I'm pushing 50. I'm getting, at this point, there's no other path for me. I have there's no other, I'm sort of locked in on that. I'm hoping that we're doing this when I'm 70, because I don't know what the hell else I'm going to do. And I hear that and I go, oh my God, I genuinely do. I mean, I joked about having a retirement plan, but I'm like, I really think that, like, what do I do with my life? So thank you, if you're listening to this, for actually caring enough to pay for what you hear, because it means a lot to us.
It means a lot. I mean, right now, like that's just podcasting too, but like the media world, everything is a hellscape. The company Future, which owns several sites, is killing sites that were very successful. iMore was one of the biggest like iPhone, Apple news sites for a while, going away because they can't like sustain the ads or anything. So, and that is all partially, that's not specifically AI, but it's about the way advertising works, and AI summaries of news articles and shit is not going to help people click on websites. So this all has like a trickle down effect. And that's why I'm worried about everything AI right now.
Yeah, I think, Jeff, that point is really important because what you can see happening is people like these big media companies owned by private equity firms and stuff, just creating a shit ton of this content and blasting it out, on these big channels where people don't have any connection. Like the listeners or the consumers have no connection with the media being created or the personalities and it's like, it doesn't matter. They get the information that they need and then they move on with their life. The everyday people who are listening to this on wherever it's going to appear, right? They get the information, they move on. But yeah, we are really grateful to have something deeper than that with our listeners, and thankful to every one of them for contributing to the Patreon. It means that to some degree we are buffeted from the turmoil that's going on, that's going to happen as a result of this technology. So
sometimes you feel like you're the only, that you're the center of the Truman Show, that all of reality is created just for you because you're the only one that you know of that's perceiving it, and it just feels to me sometimes like, man, literally all of the things that I dreamed about as a kid got monkey pawed so hard.
How does this AI generated podcasting fit into that? Like,
well, just in the sense of the Star Trek fantasy of being able to talk to a computer, the fucking dreaming about actual artificial intelligence, robots, and like as a kid, like that's the freaking dream. Like, will I live long enough to be able to talk to a robot and have it talk back to me in natural language? Like I lived to see that actually happen. It's real. I have a device that I carry in my pocket that I can talk to like a normal person and it will talk back to me. That was when I was 8. Are you kidding me? I wasn't sure that would ever happen. That was science fiction. Yeah. And it's real and it's fucking terrifying. Like that's the problem, is that all the shit that I wanted to happen happened. The internet, I don't know. I've said this stuff before, but like I wrote this a paper I remember in 6th grade or 5th grade, or like, I don't know, when I was really young. I wrote this paper called The Information Superhighway, because that's what we called it before the internet.
Called it. Yeah.
And I wrote this paper about like what the future could be like. And I was like, the best I could, all the world's information all the time at my fingertips. Anyway, sorry.
What's really funny is that the same sci-fi people who came up with a lot of these ideas, their contemporaries and even those same people were also talking about the dangers of those ideas, like Asimov and Ray Bradbury and Stanislaw Lem and everybody.
Totally.
Like but we only listen to the fun part.
Well, what's that?
You know?
Thank you so much for watching this video of the Filmcast. Check out these other videos that we have available, and be sure to hit like, subscribe, and hit that bell icon to get other videos from us in the future.
You can also go to thefilmcast.com to catch all of our audio podcast versions of all of our episodes.
And support this podcast at patreon.com/filmpodcast, where you can sign up for ad-free episodes and exclusive After Darks.
Thanks so much to everyone who makes the Filmcast possible.